Hello, beautiful world. It's episode 8, Outrageously Evolving with Laura Green and
Very green.
your dude, delightful duo. So,
I got a delightful duo here as well. There's two dragons,
oh, that's right. You do have two dragons. Yes, I
fire and
love it.
water.
Yes, brilliant.
Not that you can really see them, but imagine.
Very nice.
Yeah, they're
Very
there.
nice. So, in our last episode 7, we talked about putting motion in the ocean of words, and you read us a chapter from The Way of Dragons, and we talked about how where does that writing come from, and how do we evoke soul-stirring evolutionary movement for people in our writing. So we thought in this one we would talk a little bit more about it because you and I write about different kind of stuff than I think a lot of people write about. We tend to write somewhat about godness, and that's the piece that you read. So, we've written all kinds of books. Between us, we've written over 20 now and more to come.
Yes.
But I think even though they're stories and they're fantasy, fiction to some degree, I think that what we write is also framed around something that we are growing into ourselves, that we believe that the whole world is growing into, all of the life forms and humans included, and the earth itself, that we're becoming a new version of ourselves. We're outrageously evolving. And so our writing works to evoke that. And so we touch on godness and source and universe and in our writings. And so I thought I'd read just two paragraphs of something that I wrote just to kick this in. So this is They Call Me Avalon. It was our double book. This is Centauri's Merlin book. And this is They Call Me Avalon. We did a book ourselves where we put it into two books with pictures. So in this book, They Call Me Avalon, it was inspired by the fact that I had that epiphany on the top of the Glastonbury tour. And we had just moved back here in 2018. So you, at the same time as me, you were writing the Merlin book. I was writing the Avalon book. So I want to just read these two pieces, paragraphs. I have been asleep so long that even in my dreams, the memory of the hall where I had been summoned and sent forth were drifting into obscure nothingness. It used to be that every few centuries an adept would come along and offer me her body and being to wreak wondrousness upon the planet, and then the memories of my sending would surge forth. But it has been a long time since the last one came, and the memories are almost gone. I have been known by many names, but you may call me Avalon. I have been waiting for an acolyte, a priestess, a godling, an actualizer of that which I have been sent to do. I'm calling. Are you there? Are you ready? I yearn for this work to be fulfilled through us now. I am calling you. The winds are carrying my name to you. Avalon, they whisper to all who would hear. Come, surrender. Let us begin the work we were sent forth to do. So that was the beginning chapter of the Avalon section of that book, where I was writing about a being that's inhabits the Glastonbury Tor that's been imprinted there a very long time ago and is here to bring us into sourceness, to bring us into godness, and sent from source or God or whatever, or someone long, long ago. And so that's one example. Another one that I just did last year was called Remaking Revelations, where I wrote all like as if we remade Revelations, and the waters whooshed up on the shores, and instead of flooding us, the tsunamis, they would sit there with all the sparkling fishes and everything, just looking at us. It was like a miracle. So all of my revelations were like that. Those are the kind of books we write. We write godness into place. We write source into being, into life. We write realities into realness. And we do that through what people would call fantasy fiction. But I've always thought that fantasy writers had the ability to open the door to new possibilities, new realities, new ideas, etc. So what do you think?
I think what we're doing is autobiographical.
Ah,
I don't think it's just that we're writing about these things as if we were observers or distant from them. We're writing about them because the energetic feeling of what it is you're talking about touches you. And I know that you've had experiences on Glastonbury Tour,
oh yeah,
and you talked about one in 1995, which was your first experience where something came down, straight down through you into the
yeah,
tour.
yeah.
So there is some sort of background context which you're drawing upon for the what might be called a fantasy story to then be engaging the reader. You're talking about something that you have a direct experience of.
Oh,
And I
absolutely.
think that's unquestionably the thing which really grabs the attention.
Yeah, and you just reminded me about that. So, June 21st, 1995, before we had met, I was sitting on the Glastonbury tour at 2 a.m. in the morning. The Glastonbury Festival was on down the road. There were revelers, drummers, dancers, singers all over the tour at 2 a.m. in the full moon. It was like a wild, amazing summer night. And this energy just went boom through me, went down into the tour, bounced back up, and threw me, my whole being wide open, 20 miles in every direction. And I think that I wrote this book because of that moment, because I was answering the call to something greater. And this was my way of articulating it, you know? So in the book, I wrote it that I was the one that came along and said, yes, one of the ones. I think there were many in the book. And it's been, that's probably been my most powerful evolutionary movement in my whole life, I would say, is that one.
Mm.
I've never experienced anything like it since. I've had many wonderful experiences, but nothing like the power of that one.
I would also say that my writing my Merlin story, Merlin the Return, at the same time as you were writing that book, was also a parallel too. Merlin the Return being the return of myself back to Avalon for a particular purpose. And therefore, the power of the writing, again, it was me. The power of the writing was in me. The experiences that are described in the book are experiences also that I've had with Glastonbury in different facets, on being on the tour, being on the sacred sites, being in the Glastonbury High Street. All these things, I think we weave together, all these thoughts, experiences, visions, and ideas about greatness, about magnificence, about
Yeah,
taking the human race upon a magnificent adventure. All of it has the impetus we might point to in different times in our lives, but nevertheless, we are the ones that make the things happen, that make these stories be written, that make us go to these places, to have these experiences, because we are open to them. And I think anybody who wants to be a terrific writer has to be open to some amazing experiences which take them beyond their sphere about being a human, trying to write a book, into being this greatness which descends upon you, and is then you become the greatness, and you're writing about things which people would never consider themselves to want to write about or think they could conceive that they could write. It is something that drives you to want to now put the next story, the next installment of human odyssey into place. And because you're there to do that, then the thing gets written
yeah.
and you yourself becomes alive to the prospects of further adventures still.
Yeah. Do you know, I gotta say, because Centauri and I live up on the first story of a building, and underneath us today, they are drilling beneath us into the foundation of the building because they're making new apartments downstairs. And I wonder if people can hear some of the drilling as we're talking. I hope not. But if you are hearing that drilling, I'm going to create an analogy for it so it doesn't annoy you, because we are drilling into the foundation of everything that holds us as small human beings. And by our writing,
What an
we
analogy. Oh,
that's what I thought. I can just hear it going on all around us. And I thought to myself, that's what we're doing. We're like drilling into it and opening it up to new horizons, to new possibilities, to new vistas of futures, of realities, of worlds, of ways of being that are just too exciting to even, sometimes be able to contain. And I think it's one of the joys of you and I, our writing, is that we are privileged to be able to be a part of all of that that's happening right now in the world. Oh, interesting. The drilling just stopped.
don't hold your breath. Talk fast.
Pretty amazing. But, I'll say this as well. I think that over the years, some people, especially my mom way back, would have said, "Are you nuts? What are you talking about? This is crazy what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera." And this is what I would say to anybody who thinks that these kinds of things don't make a difference. I would rather live in a fantasy world of new creation than live in a mundane world of limited structures. And so I believe that our writings, our books, and our speaking and our teachings and our encouragements, our empowerments, and everything we do is designed to elevate the world to new possibilities. And I am very proud to be able to do that right alongside you, Centauri.
I wholeheartedly concur. Yes, I agree.
A stirring moment.
I would also just point out as well that we surround ourselves with the fantasy too. So behind me, you see the Phoenix, Phoenix arising, painted by Fleur Father.
Yeah.
And I'd say that we've populated our home with things that have meaning for us,
Yeah.
just like that. And so they're also like they're, as I was talking about that painting that I drew upon back from 1995 as an inspiration for a piece of writing. These things stay with us in our consciousness and can be drawn upon, to fuel future fantasy arrangements of reality.
Yeah.
And as I said, the fantasy and the reality are really the one.
Yeah.
We are not completely cuckoo. We are just in a space where amazing things happen. Amazing
Yes.
things happen to us because we are in that space, and partly
Yes.
because we create that space too. And
Yes.
because that space was opened to us, and we walked through a portal, and we decided that we would have an adventure together beyond all other possible adventures that we might consider. This one, is the one that gives us the greatest expansion, evolvement, and desire to want to continue.
I can hear the drilling rumbling through your office, I think. The gods are rumbling through. That sounds so amazing. I think we shall stop right there on this one. So people don't have to listen into the drilling anymore. But I'm going to use these podcasts with drilling or not, because I think what we've brought through in episodes 7 and 8 are really quite beautiful and quite wonderful. And I have to say, what a wonderful journey it is to do this with you, Centauri.
And we encourage all of the people who are listening and who will aspire also, if they do not think they're there already, to be these agents of change with us,
Oh,
that they can do what we do, basically,
yeah.
and be who we are. And that it isn't that we're putting ourselves on a pedestal, it's that we're putting out invitations to say, these are things that we've set ourselves to do and to be and to become. And so also the opportunities are available to anybody and all who are willing to step through that portal.
Absolutely, yes. And I will say again, Centauri's Way of Dragon book is on Amazon. Mine, They Call Me Avalon, is on Amazon as well. And I'm doing a webinar coming up in a couple of weeks here in May 2024 called Outrageously Evolving, which includes a look at genius and infinite intelligence and that kind of thing. So anybody's interested in it, yeah, drop me a line, let me know. We'll put you in touch with the details. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for listening. We are thrilled to have you listening to our podcast and are thrilled to join us in this journey into outrageously evolving. Thanks, everybody.
Catch you in the next one.
Bye.
Ciao.